boys and girls, we're on lesson 5, module 8, page 200. We're not going to do 199, but by the end of this lesson, you are going to be able to find the product of fractions using area models or equations, okay? So I'm going to go ahead to the interactive lesson so I can easier draw for you guys to see the problems. On page 200, it says the contractor uses the tiles shown to tile a different room, okay? So the dimensions of the tile are 2/3 by 3/4. Okay, so what we're going to do here, and I've already kind of started it, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to divide up or cut up this tile into 3 long columns. You might remember this from when we did area models of decimals. Okay, so once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and make my 4 long rows because of my denominators, okay? So this told me my denominator is 3, so I made 3 long columns. This told me that my denominator is 4, so I made 4 long rows. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to just shade in for my long 2 columns, okay, of 2/3. And then I'm going to just circle that part so I can say, okay, yep, this is where my 2/3 is. Easy for me to see. You don't have to do this, but it helps me identify it. And then I'm going to switch up the color so you can also see it. I have my 3/4. So I'm going to color in 3/4 of my rows. So that's 2, and I'm going to my third one. Okay, so as you can see, I only shaded in 3 of the 4, and I'm going to circle that as well. So I could see where all of that was. Right? Now the area that matches in between is actually the answer that I'm looking for. Again, very similar to when we did area models of decimals. Okay, just gonna make that a little bolder so we can see it. Okay, now in this common area, each of these new box rectangles that we've made is 1/12. The way I know that is because if I count all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have a total of 12. So this little thing right here, this is 1/12. That means inside of here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, and 6. I have 6 out of the 12 total here shaded in green or crossed over between 2/3 and 3/4. Okay, I'm going to save that for now. And then if you want to see their example, it's the same exact thing just without the color. Okay. Over here it says for part A, how can you use your area model to find the area of the tile? And it's very simple. It's just kind of what we did. We divided the square into 3 long columns, and then we divided it into 4 equal rows to show the fourths. Then we shaded in for each fraction, 2 of the columns, 3 of the rows, and then the area of each of the 12 small rectangles is 1/12. The section that are shaded in twice represents the area of the tile. Right? So the area that we shaded in twice represents the total area of the tile. Okay, part B, what is the area of the tile? Like we said, it was 6/12. It can't be 1/12 because that's just the size of just any of these little tiny ones by themselves. But we have 6/12 shaded in twice. Okay, if we had to go ahead and just use math and not a picture, we would use our original fractions, our 3/4 times our 2/3, and that gives us our 6/12. And we can check that right here. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next page. As always, you can pause and slow this down. I just want to make sure I can get all of it within the time frame of this video. So for the next problem, it says for another room in the house that he is building, the contractor uses floorboards with the dimensions as shown. So now we have 3/4 by 4/9 yards. Okay, we have to find the area of this floorboard, sorry. So this one I already kind of went in and I shaded it for us. I divided them up into 4 long columns and 9 long rows. I shaded in 4 of my rows in blue because that's what my numerator told me to do. And I shaded in 3 of my long columns in yellow because that's what my numerator told me to do for that fraction. The area that they match in below is 12 boxes, okay, out of a total amount of this entire new square is, 36. Almost 16. Okay, and we could always double check that because if I did 4 times 3, that's 12. And if I did 9 times 4, that's 36. Okay, make sure that looks like a 36. All right, I'm going to save that for now. It says select the area. Oh, sorry. This was just for them to see their answer. Okay, so what was the area of the floorboard? We had 12 over 36. That's the area that matches over. Okay, and we can check that. And notice how they said square yards. The reason they're saying that is because we just calculated the area. Just like for volume, we were labeling all of our responses with whatever the unit was, and then cubing it or putting that 3. When we're doing for area, you're going to put in the unit that they're using. So here they have yards. Okay, they have yards for each of these. And then we're going to put squared on the top. The reason we're putting squared is because I just multiplied 2 things, my length times my width. Okay, unlike volume, when we do length times width times height, we multiply 3 things, so we put a 3. All right, so then the area of the floorboard can be modeled with the equation. And this is the equation they gave us, 4/9 times 3/4. What would we get as our answer? We get 12 out of 36. Okay. So for part A and part B, how do they compare? Part A, I got 12 over 36. Part B, I got 12 over 36. So are they different or are they the same? I think they're the same. And that's true. We both got 12/36 using the picture and using our equation. Part D says, how can you find the product of two fractions without using a visual model? Explain your thinking. So how could you have solved for this problem without drawing the picture? Well, we could have used our equation, right? I can multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and when I divide the area, so when they're saying divide, they're talking about dividing up this actual picture. When we divide it up into 9 rows by 4 columns, it's just like us when we multiply the denominators by each other. And when I shade in 3 columns of the first 4 rows, it's just like when we multiply the numerators by each other. That's why drawing works. You're not really doing any math, you're just shading, and then counting the area where they match at the end. And it gives you the same exact answer as if you just multiplied it using the equation. I'm going to move on to the next page. Now we have another room, okay? So a store is selling new wooden floorboards that measure 2/3 yards by 1/12 yards. It wants to know what is the area of the floorboard. Well, to figure out the area of the floorboard, we first need to figure out our equation. So I know I'm going to have my 2/3, and I'm going to multiply by that 1/12 because that's the other part of my word problem. When I do 2 times 1 for my numerator, I'm going to get 2. And when I do 3 times 12 as my denominator, I'm going to get 36. So I'm looking for 2 in my numerator and 36 in my denominator. And that's true. So I can come up over here and select 236. And that's correct. Okay. Part B says describe how you could use an area model to check your answer for part A. If I were to use an area model, I'd be cutting this up into 12 very, 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 very thin rows and 3 wide columns and shading in the area that matches. And that's basically what the sample answer says too. Divide 3 rows, 12 columns, shade in the area that matches. You would shade in 2 columns from the first rows, and you would only get 2 as your numerator and 36 as your denominator. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip over here for the check understanding on page 202, I believe. So it says Mrs. Lynn is using tiles that measure 1/2 foot by 2/3 foot. What is the area of each tile? Write a multiplication equation to solve the problem. So just like how we did up here for number 3. Okay? First, go ahead and write the equation. Then go ahead and write your answer. And do not forget to label. Here where you're using feet. Okay? Over here it says to fit a corner, a contractor cuts the tile shown, this one right here, this gray one, in half. What is the area of one piece of its cut tile? So first you're going to find the area of this entire thing. Once you have the area of that, what is half of that? Okay? And that would be your answer. Do not forget to label. Your label here is feet. And finally, for 3, 4, and 5 for check understanding, just go ahead and multiply those fractions. As always, I will see you today at 1 p.m. And if you have questions, comment below. Bye, boys and girls.